Welcome to the Broken System Podcast. I'm your host, Robert Parmer. Together, we'll explore the complex problems people face in our flawed justice systems. Join me as I share the stories of those marginalized by circumstances beyond their control, often made worse by the political environment in their area. We'll discuss issues like drugs, prostitution, financial struggles, and socioeconomic issues while diving deep into the lives affected by these challenges. In each episode, I'll uncover the hidden stories, exploring the human experiences and emotions of those fighting against an unfair system. With empathy and insight, I'll discuss the systematic forces at play, personal battles, and the resilience that emerges. Through interviews, research, and storytelling, the Broken System Podcast aims to help you understand these issues better. By giving a voice to those often unheard, I hope to start the conversations that lead to a positive change and a collective effort to fix the system that has left many behind. Join me on a journey of discovery, empathy, and empowerment as we explore those stories that challenge our views and inspire us to work towards a fairer society. Welcome to the Broken System Podcast. The views and opinions expressed by our guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of the Broken System Podcast or its host. We encourage listeners to form their own opinion and conduct their own research. Additionally, this podcast may contain content and language that is not suitable for children. Listener discretion is advised.
It's been 3 days since Amber Spradlin's body was found in a home in Martin, Kentucky, and it's still unclear what led to her death. But what we do know is this community is standing right beside the family, seeking justice for their loved one and offering their support.
Amber Spradlin's family wants answers. Kentucky State Police are investigating, and at this point, no one has been charged with anything related to Spradlin's death.
Spradlin, who was 39 years old, was found dead in a home off of Arkansas Creek Road in Martin on Sunday. Kentucky State Police have said they believe this was no accident, but that's all that's been released so far.
The cause of death for 38-year-old Amber Spradlin was released Thursday, June 29th at a press conference held by her family. Spradlin was stabbed in the head, neck, and face at least 11 times, leading to her death on June 18th at the home of local dentist Michael McKinney.
Of justice are making sure that a woman who was murdered last summer is not forgotten.
Ever since Amber Spradlin was found murdered in a home in Martin, Kentucky last June, thousands have come together to push for answers.
Tuesday will mark 1 month since Floyd County woman Amber Spradlin was killed at a home in the Martin community.
The Prestonsburg woman was murdered in June, leaving her friends, family, cats, and community waiting for justice 6 months later.
A murder 6 months ago with no arrest made.
Today, 10 months after Spradlin's murder,
almost 1 year after she was found at a home in Martin, Kentucky.
A year after a Prestonsburg woman was found murdered, community members are continuing to keep the fight for justice alive.
As of Tuesday night, Kentucky State Police still hasn't released any new updates and no arrests have been made.
Welcome to the Broken System Podcast. I'm your host, Robert Parmer. Season 3, we're going to dive into the story of Amber Spradlin. Amber was murdered on June 18, 2023, in Prestonsburg, Kentucky. That's 1 year ago today. As of today, no one has been charged with the crime. This season is about telling Amber's story, keeping her name in the public's eye, and letting everybody know who Amber was. Amber's voice deserves to be heard. Her family's voice deserves to be heard. The people that committed this crime deserve to go to jail. The people that covered up this crime deserve to go to jail. As we've researched and dove into this case, we've seen many things that aren't good. We've seen a 911 system that was torn apart and put back together in the wrong way. We've seen political issues affecting not only the crime scene, but the town. We've seen privilege and wealth in a small town affect not only the investigation, but how things are ran in the town, plus how things are going now. This same power and wealth takes a key person in this investigation and hides other things that have happened in his past. We see issues with this person in college. Those issues are swept under the rug because his father wrote a large check to make these things go away and to silence those that were affected. We see issues with the mayor, the chief of police, and other law enforcement officials resigning after this has happened and resigning after other things that have disgraced their position. We see a political system in the town wrought with issues, mayors that have been arrested through the past. We've even uncovered another death in the same town that's eerily similar and has some of the same characteristics of the cover-ups that were handled in this case. You'll see that the Kentucky State Police has done everything they could to make sure that this little town didn't cover this crime up, that they've pushed and pushed, and with the state's attorney, have made sure that the cover-up that began was not allowed to be completed and made sure that this crime will eventually be solved. First and foremost in this case, every person is innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. This case, while heavily researched, we have kind of hit a brick wall on some information. Obviously, the police department are not going to release any case files or any information from an active investigation. We've reached out to most of the people in the house that night and have been told they have no comment or have been completely ignored. The majority of our information comes from family, friends, and local newspaper and television. This past week, a civil suit was filed by the family, and it's named a lot of people in the town and everyone in the house that night. We will utilize this civil suit to bring forward a lot of information that is currently not available because of it being an active investigation. We've spoken to many people, friends, family, not only of Amber, but of people involved in the case. We have reached out and we've been lucky to receive a few interviews that are to be considered off the record. So therefore, we will be talking about what we spoke to these people about, but we will not be mentioning names or having their voices on the podcast. As we learn more and we are given more documentation, we will update previous podcast episodes to correct anything that we've gotten wrong and to make sure that you guys have the most up-to-date and current information on the case as possible. And we'll be right back after this break. Now, let's give you a little background on the case. On June 18th, 2023, 1 year ago today, 38-year-old Amber Spradlin was found dead in a home on Arkansas Creek in Prestonsburg, Kentucky. Amber was brutally stabbed 11 times in the head, neck, and throat. The night before, she'd been out with friends and her boss, Dr. Mike McKinney, a well-known local dentist and owner of the Brick House restaurant where Amber worked. She had been working there for about 2 months at the time of her death. After finishing up her shift at the Brick House restaurant, Amber left with a couple people. They initially went to the Seasons Inn, which the Seasons Inn is another restaurant bar that's owned by the McKinney family. After being there a couple hours, they took the party back to Dr. McKinney's house in the early hours of June 18th. The party continued, the group continued to drink. At approximately 5 a.m. that morning, a 911 call was made from the home. Just as a small explanation, you've got two people involved that are named Michael McKinney Sr. and Michael McKinney Jr. From this point on, we will call Michael McKinney Sr. Dr. McKinney and Michael McKinney Jr. MK. So that'll help hopefully make this a little simpler so it doesn't get confusing. MK called 911 stating there was somebody in his basement bleeding profusely. At some point during that call, Dr. McKinney took the phone from him, told 911 not to worry about it, that he would handle it, and they didn't need anybody out there. Prestonsburg Police Department never dispatched anyone to check on this from this call. The next known information is, at 10 o'clock that morning, a second 911 call came in from the home. Dr. McKinney called and said, "There's a dead lady on my couch." That was it. That's all they said. Hung up the phone. This was the information that was released shortly after the murder. So as we talk about this case, you're going to hear a few things mentioned. You're going to hear Prestonsburg, which is the city. You're going to hear Martin, Kentucky, which is also a small city located directly beside Prestonsburg. All of this is located in Floyd County. Prestonsburg is located in the northern part of Floyd County. It's in the eastern part of the state. It's roughly 12.9 square miles and has a population estimated as of 2022 of 3,791 people. Prestonsburg is the county seat for Floyd County. Floyd County has approximately 36,000 people as of early 2022. So as with most small towns, you've got Floyd County Sheriff, you've got the Prestonsburg Police Department, and then you have Kentucky State Police that kind of oversees all of those things. Kentucky State Police kind of stay to the main roads and then help investigate major crimes. The Brick House restaurant is located in downtown Prestonsburg. Dr. McKinney's office is located pretty much next door. Both of these are within a block or two of the Floyd County Courthouse and Prestonsburg City Police Department. Dr. McKinney's home and the Seasons Inn are located in Martin, Kentucky. The Seasons Inn is 2 miles from Dr. McKinney's house. And downtown Prestonsburg for Floyd County Police or Floyd County Sheriff and the Prestonsburg Police Department are 10 miles away. The city of Martin has a small police department. It's really small, and you don't hear about it mentioned very much in this case at all. These distances and addresses and locations become important as these 911 calls are made and things that happen and don't happen during the 911 calls. One of the key concerns and key issues that have came to light after Amber's murder was the 911 Dispatch Service Center. On December 12, 2022, the Floyd County Fiscal Court approved a resolution to outsource the 911 dispatch service to the city of Prestonsburg. This was after they received a notification that dispatch service charges from the Kentucky State Police would nearly double for 2023. By doing this, it took the call center away from the Kentucky State Police, who had handled it before, and moved it to the Prestonsburg City Police Department. Heavy criticism came at the time of the change because people were afraid that it would reduce the priority for Kentucky State Police for Floyd County, which that's what happened because that's legally what had to happen. So therefore, Kentucky State Police prioritized Floyd County as a lower priority on calls that they weren't able to be called and dispatched from directly.
In December of 2022, the Floyd County Fiscal Court made the decision to transfer 911 emergency dispatch responsibilities from Kentucky State Police to the city of Prestonsburg due to fiscal concerns. However, since the transfer has been made, many residents have reported delays in dispatch. One magistrate said he is still waiting for someone to respond to his 911 call after more than 100 days.
Is a person's life more important than money? I guarantee it's more important. And I'll tell you what, this family is suffering. And how many other families are suffering? I'm getting phone calls and they said, look into this case, look into that case. I've even written one down here in your materials. David and James Hoover from Hippo, Kentucky. David made a phone call and said, you got to get somebody out here because I'm going to shoot my brother. And 3 hours later, when the sheriff's department finally got notified, was it 3 or 4 hours? When they finally got notified, they went up there, and when they got there, James had already been shot. And David looked at the officers and said, well, if you'd have gotten here when I made the phone call 3 hours ago, I wouldn't have had to shoot my brother. Now, that's a true story. That's a true story. How many more are out there?
That's attorney Mark Wolander, family attorney for Amber's family. And we will dive more into the 911 system with him later on in a future episode, because this is a big issue and has caused major problems within the community. And we'll be right back. We'll discuss through the 911 call. We'll discuss through the on-site, who was there, who should have been there, who wasn't there, and why they weren't there. We'll discuss through the calls that were made prior to the 911 call, the people that were on site because of those calls that were made, rumors about how it was portrayed through the police department when it first came in over the radios, what caused Kentucky State Police to get involved, why they were there, why they showed up. We'll talk about why MK, Dr. McKinney's son, left the scene before the police showed up. We're going to talk through things with MK, things that happened at Morehead State University, things that happened with Theta Chi at the Theta Chi house. We've talked to a couple of his fraternity brothers that were there at the time that these things happened. We're going to talk about the underage drinking for MK, problems that he's caused around town, problems that people say have happened due to his underage drinking and medications that he was taking or drugs that he was taking that counteracted each other. So we're going to get into that and talk through how those things led to this night and possibly what could have happened at this house. We will talk through the Kentucky State Police, the things that they've done great in this, the things that they have done not so great. We will talk about the state's attorney, Brent Turner, and the things that he's done to help the family, the things that he's done to progress this case further, how he got involved to where the city and the county could not continue to try to meddle in this and make sure that they did not try to still continue a cover-up on this case. Then the biggest thing we're going to talk about is the Kentucky State Crime Lab, the issues that they have, the problems with the crime lab, where they rank in the country, why this case is still pending, and what they're waiting on. So as we dive into this, you're going to understand why this has taken so long. It's been a year as of today, and still looking down the pipeline with no resolution as of right now, because the Kentucky State Crime Lab is so far behind, it's so underfunded, and the issues that they have there. There's been many articles and many things talking about the Kentucky State Crime Lab. They're pushing really hard right now to get some changes to where this can happen, to where the Kentucky State Crime Lab can get caught up and come into the 21st century and start being a productive part of the criminal justice system in the state of Kentucky. We will talk about the Prestonsburg Police Chief Randy Woods resigning 5 days after Amber's murder, why we think that happened and what caused that resignation. We will talk about Mayor Les Stapleton, his issues, his problems, his resignation as of February of this year due to his reasoning, and we'll say why he said it, and then also the things that have happened since then. We're also going to talk about previous mayors through the city of Prestonsburg. We're going to talk about city of Martin mayor. We're going to talk about prior mayors in these areas, problems that they've had, how their brushes with laws have happened after, either during their time in office or after their time in office. And then we're going to get into another case also that's came to light that happened at the mayor's house of the city of Martin. And it has a lot of issues and a lot of problems and a lot of the same surrounding people that were involved in Amber's case. It just didn't come to light. And we're going to dive into that. We're going to hopefully get that family on and talk to them. We have requested FOIAs for that case. We've requested FOIAs for Amber's case from Kentucky State Police. We've requested the 911 calls from earlier that morning at 5 o'clock, and we've requested the copies of the 911 calls for later in that morning. We probably will not get any of that information back. We hope that we may be able to get that stuff back from the early morning call, because it doesn't directly relate to Amber's case, but because of the civil litigation, it may come down that we can't get that because that's still pending. And then finally, we will talk about the civil litigation pending. why that actually made it quicker than the criminal case, why the family was forced to file the civil suit, and what those civil suit claims and who all it contains and who all will be named in the civil suits, and what we think the outcome of those civil charges will be. So what you have to look forward over the next few weeks is, first and foremost, we're going to talk about Amber. We're going to talk about her life. We're going to tell her story. We're going to tell those things from her family's point of view. We've got lots of interviews lined up with her family, her best friend, people in her community. We attended the rally that was held in June for Amber, and it was amazing to get to know all the people that loved her, cared about her, heard all the stories, and we're going to bring those to you. I don't know how many episodes this is going to be. I feel like it will probably be 6 or 7. They will be released every 2 weeks. My goal is going to be to keep them to about 30 minutes long each, so I don't bore you guys to death with my voice. They will be released early and ad-free on Patreon. And hopefully by the end of this, you will know who Amber was. You will understand who she was as a person, as a human being, and what she brought to the table in the community and her friends and family, and what she meant to them. Plus, we will hopefully have resolution in this case by that point in time. We hope that the person that murdered her is arrested. The people that covered it up are also taken into custody and charged, and that we are able to hopefully have the family get started on being able to heal and being able to heal the community and start moving in the right direction. Because we all know it's so hard for family when they don't have a resolution to be able to stop fighting for them, and being able to stop and understand who is responsible for it and know that the police have got it right and those people are going to, meet a jury and hopefully get convicted for the crime. That helps the family start to be able to process and move forward and move on. Thank you for joining us on this journey, and I hope that I do Amber's family, Amber, and the community justice on this podcast, and hopefully we get, her story out there and more people hear it and more people talk about it, and eventually the people are arrested and get convicted. Thank you all so very much for listening. I appreciate you more than you know. I appreciate the time that you take to listen to my voice and to listen to my podcast, and it's very much appreciated. I don't know how to tell you how much I appreciate you guys listening and helping me get Amber's story out there. Thank you. This podcast episode was researched, written, and edited by me, Robert Parmer. Additional research done by Bree Grubbs. A shout out to Jessica with Just the Facts True Crime Research for helping and assisting with the FOIA request. Music and sound effects from Epidemic Sound. This week's outro song is It's Not Easy to Start Over by Walking Hearts featuring Christine Smith. And clips and research from Mountain News WYMT. Thank you for tuning into the Broken System podcast. We hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you like what we're doing and want to support the show, consider joining our Patreon community. It's located at www.patreon.com/The Broken System Podcast. Your support helps us keep the podcast going and brings you exclusive content and perks. Don't forget to follow us on social media to stay updated with the latest news, episodes, and behind-the-scenes content. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, or if you're calling it X, and Instagram at The Broken System Podcast. Remember, at The Broken System Podcast, we're fixing the world one conversation at a time. We appreciate your support and look forward to bringing you more insightful discussions in the next episode. Until then, stay curious and keep questioning.
Oh, you don't need to let your body go. Hungry heart, It's not easy to start over. I've been there a couple of times, starting over. Know that when the night comes over you, rushes into you will shed that skin. Oh, it feels like a long run uphill. Just stay still. Take the smallest breaths, the shortest steps. It's enough. Take it easy and let your feelings out. Don't push them aside. Don't hide. Know that when the night comes over you, rushes into you will shed that skin. Oh, it feels like a long run uphill. Just stay still. Nothing really matters but you. Nothing is really true but you. Know that when the night comes over you, rushes in